Imagine stepping into your yard, reaching overhead, and twisting a sun-warmed avocado straight off the branch. No packaging, no checkout line, no sold out sign, just real food, quietly growing as part of your everyday life. Most people assume avocados are fussy tropical trees that only belong in commercial orchards. But once you understand how they grow, especially what their roots need and how to set them up properly, they become one of the most dependable long-term food trees you can own. This isn't about one good season. It's about building a system where the tree improves every year, gets stronger with age, and keeps producing for decades. So we begin where every successful avocado tree begins, in the ground. 1. Choosing the right location. This stage matters more than people think. Where and how you plant determines whether your avocado barely survives or grows like it's completely at home. When digging the hole, the biggest mistake is going too deep. Avocado roots stay close to the surface and need plenty of oxygen. A deep hole filled with loose soil can trap water below the root zone, which leads to root rot. Instead, dig a hole only as deep as the root ball, but make it 2 to 3 times wider than the pot. Width encourages roots to spread outward, which stabilizes the tree and improves nutrient uptake. Before placing the tree in the hole, slide it out of the container and check the roots. If they're tightly circling, gently loosen them or make a few shallow vertical slices. This helps redirect growth outward into the soil, rather than continuing in circles, which can restrict the tree later. Set the tree so the top of the root ball sits slightly above the surrounding soil at about an inch or 2 higher. This small elevation is crucial. Avocados dislike being buried deeply, and a slightly raised position improves drainage and keeps the crown dry. Never mound soil against the trunk. Moisture against the bark can cause rot, which is difficult to reverse. When refilling the hole, use mostly the native soil you removed. It may seem helpful to fill the hole with rich potting mix, but that can create a bathtub effect where water collects and drains poorly. A bit of compost is fine, but keep the soil structure natural. Firm the soil gently with your hands as you go, not your feet. Roots need air spaces to breathe. After planting, shape a shallow ring of soil around the tree to form a watering basin. This directs water toward the root zone instead of letting it run away. Give the tree a deep, slow watering right away. This settles soil around the roots and eliminates large air pockets. If the soil sinks after watering, top it up slightly while keeping the root ball raised. Next comes mulch, one of the most important steps. Spread a 2 to 4 inch layer of wood chips or leaf mulch over the root area. This keeps soil cool, conserves moisture, and supports soil life, mimicking the forest floor avocados evolved in. Just keep mulch a few inches away from the trunk to prevent rot. Young avocado trees can sway before their roots anchor. If wind is a concern, add 1 or 2 stakes placed outside the root zone and tie the trunk loosely with soft ties. Allow slight movement. It helps strengthen the trunk. Remove stakes after the first year so the tree develops natural strength. Finally, be patient. Avoid fertilizing right after planting. The tree's energy is focused below ground, building the root system that will support years of fruiting. It's normal if above-ground growth slows at first. The real work is happening where you can't see it. Planting isn't just placing a tree in soil. It's creating the conditions where roots can breathe, expand, and anchor deeply. Get this part right, and everything that follows becomes easier and far more productive. Soil, the make or break factor. Sunlight fuels the canopy, but soil determines whether the roots live or fail. Avocado roots are delicate, fine, fibrous, and highly dependent on oxygen. They're nothing like the rugged roots of many fruit trees. Think of them as needing a breathable, sponge-like environment rather than dense, wet ground. That's why drainage isn't optional, it's critical. Avocado roots must sit in soil that holds moisture and air at the same time. When soil stays saturated, air pockets disappear and roots can't breathe. Starved of oxygen, they weaken, and opportunistic fungi, especially the ones responsible for root rot, move in. This disease is the leading cause of avocado tree loss worldwide. The tricky part? Stressed trees often look thirsty, so people water more, which makes the problem worse. The principle is simple. Moist but airy equals ideal. Wet and dense equals dangerous. Before planting, check how well your soil drains. Dig a hole about a foot deep and fill it with water. If the water lingers for hours, the soil holds too much moisture. That's your red flag. In that case, don't plant at ground level. Build a raised mound instead, about 12 to 18 inches tall and several feet across. Elevating the root zone allows gravity to pull excess water downward while improving airflow around roots. Many seasoned growers say mound planting is the single biggest factor in long-term success. Make the mound broad, not steep. Avocado roots spread outward more than downward, so horizontal space matters. When preparing soil, avoid overdoing amendments. Filling the hole with rich potting mix can create a container effect, where water collects and roots hesitate to grow beyond the amended zone. Use mostly native soil with a modest amount of compost, enough to boost biology without changing structure too much. The goal isn't to replace your soil, it's to make it more alive. In nature, avocados evolved in forest soils, loose, organic, and full of microbial life. Compost introduces beneficial organisms, including fungi, that partner with avocado roots to improve nutrient absorption and resilience. After planting, mulch becomes your best ally. A generous layer of wood chips or leaf litter mimics a forest floor and offers multiple benefits. Keeps soil temperature stable, slows evaporation, feeds soil organisms as it decomposes, improves structure gradually, suppresses weeds. Just remember, keep mulch a few inches away from the trunk. It should protect the soil, not smother the bark. As mulch breaks down over time, it builds rich, crumbly soil from the surface downward, a slow, natural improvement that's healthier than heavy initial amendments. Avoid compacting the ground around the tree. Avocado roots struggle in hard soil, so minimize foot traffic over the root zone. Also be mindful of salts. Avocados are sensitive to them. Excess synthetic fertilizer or poor irrigation water can harm roots. This is another reason organic matter and mulch outperform strong chemical feeding early on. Good avocado soil feels loose, smells earthy, and drains quickly. If squeezing it releases water, it's too wet. If it dries into hard clods, it needs more organic matter. When soil conditions are right, trees grow steadily, leaves stay deep green, and fruiting improves naturally. When soil conditions are wrong, no amount of fertilizer can fully compensate. So keep this in mind, you're not planting avocados in dirt. You're growing them in living, oxygen-rich earth. Love this phase. This is where an avocado tree shifts from simply staying alive to becoming a reliable, heavy producer for years to come. Let's build this step the right way. How to plant the process begins before digging. Water the tree well in its pot a few hours ahead of planting. A hydrated root ball lowers transplant stress and helps roots adjust more smoothly to their new environment. When you start digging, remember this rule. Going too deep causes problems. Going wide creates success. The hole should be no deeper than the root ball itself. Planting too low suffocates roots and traps moisture near the trunk, which invites fungal disease and rot. The base of the trunk where it widens, the trunk flare, must stay above soil level. In fact, position the root ball slightly high, about 1 to 2 inches above the surrounding ground. Soil naturally settles over time, and this prevents the tree from ending up buried too deeply later. Now focus on width. Make the hole at least twice the width of the root ball, ideally 3 times. This loosens the surrounding soil, allowing new feeder roots to move outward easily. Avocado roots spread laterally near the surface rather than diving deep. When taking the tree out of its container, handle it gently. If you see roots wrapping around the root ball, tease them apart with your fingers. If the plant is tightly root-bound, make a few shallow vertical cuts along the outer roots. This encourages outward growth instead of continued circling. Set the tree into place and check its posture. Step back and look from different angles to be sure it's straight. Starting upright prevents structural issues as it grows. When filling the hole, use mostly the soil you removed. A bit of compost is fine, but avoid rich potting mixes that hold excess moisture. Avocado roots prefer natural soil structure with air spaces. Don't pack the soil down with your feet. Lightly press it with your hands to eliminate large gaps, but keep it loose. Roots need oxygen just as much as water. Add water partway through backfilling so the soil settles naturally around the roots. Then finish filling and water again slowly and deeply. This ensures good root contact without compaction. Form a shallow watering ring around the tree, but keep the trunk area slightly raised so water never sits against the bark. If wind is an issue, stake lightly using soft ties and allow a bit of movement. Movement actually strengthens the trunk. Stakes are temporary. Remove them after the first year so the tree can develop natural stability. Finish with a generous mulch layer, about 3 to 4 inches deep, spread over the root zone but kept a few inches away from the trunk. Mulch moderates soil temperature, conserves moisture, and feeds soil life. All things avocados thrive on. Watering the right way. Watering errors are the leading cause of avocado failure. Avocados dislike constantly wet soil. Their roots are adapted to well-drained, airy conditions. Think heavy rain followed by drying, not daily light watering. Deep watering trains roots to grow downward and outward, building a stable, drought-tolerant tree. Frequent shallow watering keeps roots near the surface, making the tree weaker and dependent. After planting, water thoroughly, but not too often. Allow the top few inches of soil to dry before watering again. Use your finger to check. If it's still moist below the surface, wait. Young trees require more frequent watering because their roots are still limited. But even then, focus on deep soaking rather than surface moisture. As trees mature, they tolerate dry spells better, but they still need steady moisture during 2 critical periods: flowering and fruit development. Stress at these stages can lead to fruit drop. Leaves reveal what's happening. Yellow leaves that fall easily usually indicate overwatering or poor drainage. Roots may be suffocating. Brown, crispy tips often suggest inconsistent watering, salt buildup, or cycles of dryness followed by heavy watering. The aim is a steady rhythm of moisture, not extremes. Feeding your tree avocados grow vigorously and carry heavy fruit loads, so they need nutrition, just not in sudden surges. They respond best to gradual, natural feeding. Compost, well-aged manure, worm castings, and balanced organic fertilizers work well because they nourish both the tree and the soil ecosystem. Nitrogen encourages leaf growth, but too much results in lots of foliage and fewer fruits. Balance is essential. You want healthy leaves, not excessive lush growth. Micronutrients matter as well, particularly zinc and iron. Deficiencies often show up as yellowing between leaf veins while the veins stay green, especially in alkaline soils. A trace mineral supplement or foliar micronutrient spray can correct this quickly. Mulch continues to play a big role. As it breaks down, it feeds soil organisms that convert nutrients into forms the tree can absorb efficiently. Living soil equals better nutrient uptake. Never pile fertilizer against the trunk. Spread nutrients in a broad ring under the canopy where feeder roots are active. Feeding is like fueling an engine: steady, balanced, and natural. When soil life is strong, roots stay healthy, leaves remain vibrant, and fruit production increases. An avocado tree doesn't need forceful care. It needs a consistent cycle: deep watering, breathable soil, gradual nutrition, and patience. Get that rhythm right, and the tree handles the rest. This is the stage where an avocado tree stops being just greenery and starts acting like a true food producer. Let's break it down properly. Pruning for production. Left alone, an avocado tree aims upward and inward, forming a tall, dense canopy. That may work in the wild, but in a home garden it creates heavy shade, weak interior growth, and fruit that's difficult to harvest. Good pruning redirects energy from excessive leaf growth into balanced structure and better fruiting. Focus on 3 things: shape, sunlight, and airflow. You're not trying to drastically cut the tree back, you're shaping it over time. A productive avocado tree usually has an open center with sturdy main branches extending outward, forming a broad, bowl-like canopy. This structure allows sunlight to reach deeper into the tree, which is crucial. Flowers formed in heavy shade often fall without setting fruit. Begin with the essentials. Remove dead, broken, or diseased wood. Then identify branches that cross and rub. Those contact points create wounds that invite pests and infections, so remove one of the competing branches. Height control is also important. Avocados can quickly grow taller than is practical. An overly tall tree shades its lower limbs and pushes fruit production out of reach. Reduce height gradually by cutting back to a side branch, not leaving bare stubs. This encourages outward growth rather than vertical shoots. Avoid major pruning in one session. Avocados respond poorly to sudden, heavy cuts. Instead, make lighter adjustments each year, ideally after harvest. Timing matters. Pruning during bloom removes potential fruit and stresses the tree. Thin out overly dense inner growth as well. If little sunlight filters through the canopy, it's too crowded. Better airflow lowers the risk of fungal issues and helps pollinators move through the tree. Remember, leaves are the tree's energy source. Don't strip too many. The balance is simple. Enough foliage to power growth, enough light to support fruiting. A well-managed tree that's smaller and open often produces more usable fruit than a large, overgrown one lost in shade. Flowering and pollination. Avocado flowering follows one of the most unusual systems in fruit trees. Each flower opens twice. First functioning as female, later as male, but at different times. This system reduces self-pollination and encourages cross-pollination. Trees are commonly grouped into Type A and Type B. Type A flowers act as female in the morning, close, then reopen as male the next afternoon. Type B flowers function as female in the afternoon and reopen as male the following morning. When both types are planted near each other, their schedules overlap, boosting pollination and fruit set. A single tree can still produce fruit, but yields often improve with both types nearby. Temperature influences timing. Cooler conditions can blur the schedule, allowing more overlap even within one tree. Warmer, stable weather keeps the patterns more distinct. Bees do most of the work. Avocado flowers aren't strongly scented, but they provide nectar and pollen. A strong bee presence directly supports fruit production. This is why pesticide use during bloom is harmful. It reduces pollinator activity and cuts yields before fruit even forms. Encouraging pollinators with diverse flowering plants nearby helps overall success. You'll see huge numbers of blossoms, but only a small fraction turn into fruit. That's completely normal, and the tree overproduces flowers as insurance. Fruit development and patience. After successful pollination, small fruits begin to grow. Then many drop. This natural fruit drop is part of the tree's self-regulation. It keeps only what it can support based on available energy, nutrients, and water. Healthy foliage and consistent watering during this period help the tree retain more fruit. Avocados are unusual because they reach maturity on the tree but don't soften there. Mature fruit can hang for months, effectively acting as living storage. This is the secret behind having a continuous supply. Instead of picking everything at once, you harvest as needed. Once picked, avocados ripen in a few days off the tree, while the rest remain firm on the branches. This spreads production over time, reduces waste, and provides steady food rather than a single overwhelming harvest. Within reason, fruit left longer on the tree develops higher oil content and richer flavor. However, fruit can't hang indefinitely. The tree eventually needs to redirect energy into the next flowering cycle. Patience is essential. Young trees often take several years before producing heavily. But once mature, a healthy avocado tree can carry fruit consistently, with overlapping crops that create the feeling of an endless harvest. Over time, the system balances itself. Strong roots below, an open canopy above, active pollinators at work, and fruit hanging quietly, ready whenever you are.